Well, Prince Harry and Prince William, they were in the news again. Apparently, they had attended an uncle's funeral recently, and people had noticed that they were keeping their distance at the funeral. So people are speculating that the relationship is still a rather stormy right now. Now, I was reading some other headlines, and they were suggesting that Prince Harry is attempting to clean up his image. There's an attempt there to try to remake himself so that he can restore this image from all this conflict that's happened with the royal family recently. So that's what I'm going to be looking at today in the astrology chart. We're going to be looking at, is there any indication that there's this revamp of Prince Harry happening? Is there some sort of forgiveness that may happen in the future between Prince Harry and Prince William? That's what I'm really going to be looking at today using astrology. Now, for those of you that are new to my channel, make sure you like and subscribe. I practice Vedic sidereal astrology, which is the astrology that they used in ancient India. So you'll notice that the chart may look a little different than what you're used to. If you're interested in a private personal reading, please check down below for details. Also, I want to remind everybody that this reading is for entertainment purposes only. All the statements about Prince Harry or Prince William, they're all my interpretation of the astrology chart. But today we're going to be looking at specifically Prince Harry's astrology chart. So let's go talk about that for a moment. So the reports were that Prince Harry and Prince William were keeping their distance at their uncle's funeral recently. I talked about that. Reports allege that Prince Harry is planning on rehabilitating his public image and return from exile, is what they call it. And so the questions I'm asking in this astrology reading are, okay, does his karmic timeline that he's on right now support this? Is this something that could happen in the near future? And can this rift between Prince Harry and Prince William be healed? I know a lot of people are pretty divided on that whole issue, so that's what we're really going to be looking at today. So let's go ahead and talk about the current timeline that Prince Harry is on right now, because that's fairly interesting. And I'm going to show you the astrology chart right now. This is Prince Harry's astrology chart. In Vedic astrology, we use something called the Vimshatari Dasha. And it's basically these karmic timelines. Essentially, the belief is that your life is planned out from birth to the time you leave this planet. You know, there's certain karmas that are unfolding, and the planets and the houses, they're representatives, or they represent those forms of karma. So at this moment, Prince Harry's in a Rahu-Mars period. And so that's what we're really going to be interested in looking at. He's going to be in this period from, he started it in March of 2024, and he's going to be ending it next year in March of 2025. So, is this current period, this Rahu-Mars period, going to bring about some sort of healing with Prince Harry and Prince William? Could he rehabilitate his image? That's what we're going to be looking at. Now, Rahu's in the sixth house of Taurus in Prince Harry's astrology chart, and then Mars is in the 12th house of Scorpio. One of the things I want to point out right off the bat is that the sixth house and the 12th house are both known as evil houses because they're associated with loss or conflict. Especially sixth house would be conflict, 12th house would be more losses and isolation. So all those things, it's interesting. The news story brought up this idea of wanting to get out of exile, and the 12th house is what exile really is about. So the 12th house would be exile. I'm going to bring up a slide for a moment so we can really dig deep on that. And let me pull that up. And you can learn a little bit of astrology while you're at it. So remember the Rahu Mars period, that's from March 11th, 2024 to March 30th, 2025. I mean, we're starting to approach the end of the year here, so it's actually coming up pretty fast. It'll be here before you know it. Rahu's in the sixth house. That's the Mahadasha, which is the larger period. We're not going to talk about that too much, but I want to bring up that the Rahu in the sixth house can represent things like conflict, divorce, imbalance, feuds, gossip. So definitely the energy with Rahu in the sixth house could be conflictual, even with his relationship with Megan. It could be conflictual with Rahu in the sixth house. It's definitely a separative influence that's happening here. Then we have Mars in the 12th house, and the 12th house is associated with foreign lands, losses, endings. It rules the 12th house too, so it's the 12th lord. Because it's the sign of Scorpio. So losses and endings, the 12th house usually is associated with. And what I tend to think with Mars being in the 12th house, it shows being conflicted in a foreign land. So this stay that, he's in the United States right now, it may actually feel not very good right now because of Mars. Mars is like a very it's a tough planet to be in its planetary period. It does create a lot of drive and ambition, but in Harry's chart, you'll notice it's conjoined with K2. It's a period of losses, disconnection, and isolation, and a lot of anger. There could be a lot of anger underneath the surface there, especially because it's in the sign of Scorpio. The impact of this period could be very intense. So let me show you just one more time the K2 placement. So remember, Mars is over here, and then it's next to K2. So these planets are basically influencing each other. K2 is also associated with losses, detachment, disconnection. There's a strong feeling of isolation. This can definitely serve as a catalyst for someone to feel like they need to reach out or they need to try to mend things with the royal family. Um, Definitely, he may be feeling it. I mean, if you think about it, like after the initial, when he brought out the book Spare, they had the Netflix documentary, and there might have been an initial rush with all of that, and then it's like then things quiet down, and then he may realize how alone he feels right now. The 12th house can feel like a very alone place. Even though he's a public figure, he might have a lot of times where he's feeling very isolated, and he might miss home during these kind of periods. That's for sure. Let's take a look at the slide one more time. At the bottom, it says they may serve as a catalyst to reach out and try to smooth things over with the royal family. However, I don't feel like we will see a resolution to this conflict during the Rahu-Mars period. So remember, the Rahu-Mars period, it lasts till March of next year. And I think a lot of people don't expect it to this conflict to really be over. For example, this distancing that people saw at the uncle's funeral, this could definitely still be in play. Now let's talk about another thing that's kind of if you want to think a planetary cause of this disagreement between Prince William and Prince Harry is going to be the Saturn transit. So let me show you in the chart. So Saturn is transiting the sign of Aquarius, and it's been transiting the sign of Aquarius since January of 2023. It's going to be there till March 29th of 2025. So transiting Saturn, we're not looking at natal Saturn is over here. We're looking at transiting Saturn is in the third house. Okay, it's currently retrograde. But the overall transit from January 2023, so if we look at January 2023 to, and didn't fill it out all the way, to March of 2025, you'll notice it's in the third house. The third house is all about siblings. It can have to do with hobbies, siblings, teammates. But the first thing that we think about when we look at the third house is siblings. And then Mars also can represent siblings, by the way. So that's interesting to think about. So, especially it's interesting that this Mars period, this Rahu Mars period is pretty much coinciding with this Saturn transit that's going through the third house. So it's weird. It's almost like what Saturn does is it kind of freezes the state of the relationship with the siblings. That's what you'll notice when Saturn's going through these houses. Let me bring the slide up again. So January 2023, March 2025, Saturn brings up karmic lessons and resistance to change. All of us have a Saturn transit right now, so it just depends on what house it's going through for you. It's going through the sign of Aquarius, but depending on your ascendant sign is what house it's going to be impacting. So the third house would be siblings, hobbies, and teammates, just like we talked about. So this could be karmic challenges with Prince William. I think it's very obvious. And Saturn resists any type of change. So right now, believe it or not, both brothers, I mean, it can indicate both brothers in a certain way. They're both resistant to this change. So Prince Harry came out with these exposés, and now they're kind of locked into this state of resistance because that's what Saturn represents. Saturn represents resistance to change. So I don't see this glacial, I'm calling it a glacial thaw because Saturn's very slow. So we can think of it as a slow moving glacier. I don't feel like this relationship's really going to begin to heal astrologically till the end of this Saturn transit, which is going to be past March of 2025. However, contrary to a lot of people that I see comment, I do think they can patch things up. I really do. I think they can actually patch things up. It's just going to take time. And as they say, time can heal all things. We never, we don't know what kind of other events are going to happen in the royal family in the near future. My most recent video said I did see that there could still be some challenges for King Charles. So you never know. These kind of things can bring families together. They say, what is it? Dark times make strange bedfellows, or there's an old saying that way. So, sometimes we mend fences with people when we're going through tough times or we're going through, emergencies like what's going on now, even though the instinct right now is this protectionism with Saturn in the third house. But eventually things may thaw out. Now let's talk about when I feel like this could actually, there could be a truce between Prince Harry and Prince William, or we could see even this rehabilitated public image. I actually see both things happening for Prince Harry, which is quite interesting. So let me bring you back to the chart. If we look down the Vimshatari Dasha, starting in March 30th of 2025, he's going to be entering a whole new Mahadasha called Jupiter. And Jupiter's over here. Jupiter, first of all, we have to remember Jupiter's a very benefic planet. It's generally a benefic planet. And in Prince Harry's case, it rules the first house and the fourth house. It's a very good planet for Prince Harry. It's very strong. It's in the first house of Sagittarius. Even if we look at the Navamsa over here, it's in the 10th house. If we look at I'm going to bring it, this is the Navamsa chart. If we look at the moon chart over here, it's in the 9th house. These are very good houses to see, Jupiter activating within Prince Harry's chart. Now, the first house, it represents public reputation. And Jupiter in the first house, it's going to bring a lot of blessings and increase of public reputation in a positive way, though, because Jupiter it's a very, like I said, a very benefic planet. And then it rules the fourth house of homeland. I see there could be a really big shift around this time, even though like so many of us think it's impossible. We're thinking like there's no way that this rift could be solved. But the Jupiter timeline, I think it's telling another story. I think it's showing that something's going to be healing next year in 2025. Let me bring up the slide. So Jupiter. Now, the reason why it's called Jupiter is there's the Jupiter Mahadasha, which is the long period. Every Mahadasha starts in a sub period of itself. So it's going to be Jupiter Mahadasha, Jupiter Antardasha. So the Antardasha is March 30th, 2025, to May 18th, 2027. So it's a little over 2 years. This is a complete change of Mahadasha. Usually there's major changes. When you change the planetary timelines, it's huge. Jupiter's in the first house. It rules the first and fourth houses. This could be an overhaul of the identity. Popularity increases with Jupiter because it's in the first house. So this plan, and from the article I read, by the way, Prince Harry is contacting, I think, some of his contacts in back in the UK, because apparently the Hollywood people have not been very good at rehabilitating the image. So he's actually contacting some of the people in the United Kingdom, maybe some of the people that they've dealt with this sort of thing before. So Jupiter brings grace and things like forgiveness. Remember, it is the planet of Dharma, of religion. So it tends to be a very holy type of planet, wisdom, doing the right thing, moral compass, things like that. So it can bring some forgiveness, and it also can rehabilitate someone's image for sure. And the fourth house represents homeland. So I see popularity increasing around this time. And also, the thing to notice at the bottom of the slide, which I told you about earlier, was that Saturn's going to be leaving the third house. So that's so interesting. On almost the same day, Saturn's moving out of the third house. He's entering Jupiter. So I feel like there's this definite revamp of uh, Prince Harry's image. Okay, there could be a definite. Now, it is possible during this 2 year period, he could actually move back to the United Kingdom. And I've been saying this in some of my videos. I know it seems impossible right now, but the possibility is there, especially since Jupiter in his chart is like a very patriotic kind of planet. It really is associated with homeland, it's associated with mother. And so I feel like there could be a move. It's going to be interesting to watch of what kind of events will be taking place over the next, 7 or 8 months. But I see a big overhaul happening. I feel like he's going to start reaching out, probably contacting the right people and trying to extend the olive branch during this time. But I don't feel like it's going to be successful at first. I feel like the rest of this year, we're still in a little bit of a stagnant energy. But 2025, I feel like there's going to be a lot of healing for both Prince Harry and Prince William. Let me know what you think down below. I know some people think it won't heal. Let me know what your opinion is. I really appreciate it. So thank you, and I will see you all in the next video.